Hey everyone, this is Catching Up with the Nerds with your host Tom and our guest David. This is a podcast about two dads who are catching up on all nerdy stuff we missed, sharing. We pass that on to our kids and deep diving into the nerdy pop culture to make it accessible for you guys. So this is a special episode, and as I mentioned before, I've got a guest. What is your name? Introduce yourself.
I may speak. So I am David Sago. I too am a nerd and into nerd culture. Big Marvel fan, somewhat DC fan. I've dabbled in anime a little bit. But I think overall, the type of nerd I am is a gaming nerd for the most part. But yeah, huge into Marvel. So I'm happy to be here for this episode.
Excellent. That's how we like it. My name is Tom. I am the other half of the Catching Up with the Nerd podcast. I'm also on the Grit and Grind podcast. I'm going to plug it right here.
Hey.
This is another podcast I'm on with Dave. I'm a married man, married to a lovely woman named Ellie, and I've got two kids. Emily, who's 11, and Louis, who's turning 4 very soon. So I'm preparing a bunch of birthday presents for him. It'll be nerdy related, I guess. I love everything that is comics, video games, and a little bit of anime also, which is not ideal when you're trying to do an episode on anime, but that's all good. Right, so we are gathering today, Dave. I call you Dave because that's what I call you on the basketball podcast. To talk about WandaVision Ep.3, which comes out every Friday on Disney Plus. So if you've got Disney Plus subscription, please do yourself a favor and go watch episode 1, 2, and now 3 that just got released on Friday. I'm gonna say that right now, but I can't wait for episode 4. And once we'll be done with talking about episode 3, you'll know why. So should we just jump right in and try to make this a short, sexy episode? I think that's what we want to do. Yeah. Make it snappy.
Love it.
So I want to start really with the visuals. I think that's how we started on the last episode with JC, who's not here today. Shout out to JC. And I want to talk visuals. And I think so. Episode 1 was obviously based in it was set in the 50s, so it was in black and white, and episode 2 was set in the 60s, hence it was also in black and white. So we now switch from black and white into the beautiful world of colors, and which is funny enough also the name of the episode, which is Now in Color.
Now in Color,
the name of the episode. So the first couple episodes you saw on a couple occasions you had the color red popping up, which is obviously the color of Vision's skin, and Wanda's power, which is the glow around magic. Her, the magic. Yeah. So it's fun. So that it's all in color, and it's still a little bit faded. It's got that little grain, that 70s grain on there, which is it's quite cool. You can see those details popping up. The other thing visually that is still there is the 4:3 aspect ratio, which if you don't know what 4:3 is, it would be square size on your screen with strips of black on either side, to the left, to the right. Well, left and right, sorry. Otherwise it would look weird. And fair enough, it switches to 16:9, which is the current aspect ratio for everyone on planet Earth, which is if it's full screen, it would be widescreen. And then the other thing I keep nerding on about is the audio, which I don't know if you remember what I said in the previous episode for 1 and 2, is that it sounds very 50s and 60s, as in mono, not stereo. This one is now slightly better. It still felt a little bit older, so I don't know how they've done that. I guess with audio engineers these days you can do whatever you want, but this is I thought that was pretty cool. And the one notable point was that the first episode was recorded in front of a live audience, so that the laugh is from a live audience. That one, episode 3, you can hear clearly it's a laughing audio track, right? Throughout you've got this canned soundtrack, which is quite funny. It sets the right tone to the episode. It's like, you've made it to the 70s, you made it to those type of comedies that required soundtracks.
Yeah, and it's largely based around the Brady Bunch, like with the
Yeah.
intro and the set design. But what I found interesting audio wise was later on in the episode, when we come to talk about the plot, you'll know the part, but there's a section where the laugh track comes in when
Mhm.
what they're saying actually isn't funny.
Yes.
And that, I thought that was really cool, the way they played with that, just to sort of add to the eeriness a little bit.
Mhm.
They're being really smart about the way they implement these things and go
They
about
do
doing it.
they do use the soundtrack if you pay attention to those moments that are a bit creepy slash the one of the character realizes something is not quite right. You can hear the music switches from whatever type of music was used in those eras to like the light bubbly music from the 50s and 60s, of something funkier from the 70s, and then it switches to something that you may be more familiar with. If you've been watching Marvel movies, for example, a bit more dramatic with orchestras and something a little bit more somber. It's quite interesting. And there's a bit I think we'll get to also where Vision says something and the music switches completely, and it's like, yeah, they've been really good with the audio, which is not something I usually pick on, but I've really noticed that on that one. Right, so that's visuals for you. Let's recap a bit the episode. I think let's go point by point and see if no one's if people not been catching up, go watch it first and then listen to this before we go into spoilers territory. So obviously you mentioned that it's referencing the Brady Bunch and Three's a Company and stuff like that. So it's got that very much that vibe. The house, I think the design of the house is also based on the Brady Bunch. Can't say that.
Yeah, they've just flipped the side that the stuff is on, I think. But yeah, it's pretty much the same as the Brady Bunch, and the garden is the same as the Brady Bunch as well.
Yes, yes. So at the end of episode 2, Wanda discovers she's pregnant. Right. So that's kind of a cliffhanger in there. So we're now picking up from that moment, and the pregnancy is a bit weird because it's going by super fast. It's not just I think Vision mentions that. So the doctor is there in the house, and Vision is the three of them obviously having a chat about it. I think Vision is asking about the size of a baby after 12 hours. So I think this is the sort of speed, and the doctor is like, well, no, she should be 4 months, isn't she?
Something like that. So, and he's comparing it to the size of different fruit.
Yes, which was a weird scene again. So we discover that she's got and with the pregnancy though, I don't know if you realize, we'll talk about it later, there's another scene. Do you think Wanda's power either got stronger or that got weaker? I don't know if it's something.
This is theory territory. I don't know if you want to get into it quickly, but I think depending on who you believe is in control of this whole thing, I think that is the answer to your question. So it's either some evil force which is pushing things along and wants her to get pregnant for whatever reason, or it's purely her that wants this idea of having children because she's lost her brother and lost her family and is searching for those things in this simulation.
Again, theories. We'll get to that. Yes. So the pregnancy goes really, really fast. So you see Wanda and Vision going through all the motions of, building up a crib and getting the baby's room ready, and there's a bunch of stuff that happened. And obviously, as things progress, they are learning what's happening as they go along. Quickly get into the good stuff, which is having contractions and eventually giving birth. Or you see the entire scene of her giving birth, and Geraldine, I can't even say her name, Geraldine, just comes in unannounced.
She comes by, to tell her about her new job. She's got a new job
with a bus. By the way, though, I was rewatching it at lunchtime, and I did not look it up. Maybe you have. Maybe I will after this. But Geraldine mentions her boss's name, and I was like, surely there's something in the boss's
I
name.
think I did look it up, and it's literally only referenced in this show.
Oh, okay, there's nothing to it.
Yeah,
there's
there's
a lot
nothing.
of stuff. You have to be super quick and.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would link maybe to someone who we know from Sword in the comics or something like that, but no, I don't think it does.
I don't like that. Usually,
maybe it will in the show though, right? Because Marvel could introduce a specific member of Sword who wasn't introduced in the comics.
Sometimes it's in writing somewhere on the wall or on a can of paint. Funny enough, I've seen that because I watched one of those videos. I don't know if you've seen it also.
Yeah,
there's a name on the
Simmer.
can.
I think it's
Simmer, who's one of the storyboard artists or one of the script or producers, something like that. I thought that was pretty funny. The guy just put himself in there.
Knowing that people will look, right?
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm going to shamelessly plug myself in there.
Yeah, because the credits aren't long enough.
Yeah, there's like, we need more names in there. So yeah, we got to the point where Geraldine just walks in, and by the time she comes in, Wanda is now super pregnant. She's about 8-9 months, so she's actually having contractions. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. There's when the water breaking, you've got water pipes, I guess, the bursting, and then it's raining all over the house. But then you realize that not only that's happening in her house, but it's happening all around town.
Yeah,
and you've got some sort of earthquake as well, like stuff is shaking, and they again, it's not just them, it's the entire town. The power goes out, the phone lines are down, so Wanda, I'd assume, literally just cannot control her own powers and just
she's finding it difficult. Yeah, I think she's finding it difficult to control them through the pain, because we see a few mishaps with her powers where her coat changes, her jacket changes.
Yes.
Twice, I think. The last time it's into mink, and then their stalk appears during their conversation, and she can't get rid of the stalk. She tries to. We see the red mist try and envelope the stalk, but it just keeps blowing it away.
Yep.
Right.
So
which also leads me to believe that the pregnancy is being controlled by someone else, because a stalk is normally in folklore, a stalk brings the baby to the parents, and in this case she can't get rid of the stalk, even though she can do all of these other things with her powers.
It's like, you can't control the pregnancy, you can't control the fact that you're having babies, so you can't control that, which is that's a very good point. So what was it that is something that got you? I think you want to talk about it when we get to the Easter eggs, but the yellow coats, I think, is something that jacket is something, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
I thought that was quite funny. That's certainly, she's got a mink on. I was like, for once, I think the first 2 episodes, the bits that were funny, I was like, meh. But I think that the third one actually, that I did crack up a couple of times when there were those jokes that were so bad that I was like, God.
I found it funny when she starts having the Braxton Hicks contractions early on, and Vision starts floating up into the sky because he's panicking. And then she starts breathing, and then she urges him to breathe, and when he breathes, he slowly comes back down again. I thought that was quite funny.
There's a lot of physical comedy, and actually talking about the comedy aspect to it, I think we did say that in the first episode, the first recap episode, but it's the acting by Wanda, not Wanda, what's her name?
Elizabeth Olsen,
and I lost their names now. There you go.
I don't know his name off by heart.
Paul Bettany.
Vision. Paul Bettany. Paul
Bettany. Both of them, the acting is spot on, because to go between, and actually the entire cast, because to go between those different eras, and it's different ways of acting, it's different ways of delivering a joke and delivering lines. It's just every time it's just spot on. Every single episode so far, it's just amazing.
Something along those lines that I noticed was that Herb, the black neighbor, now he started using 70s black slang.
And
that's really interesting as well, that he didn't say anything like that. He doesn't talk even the same in the first two
Mm.
episodes. But now he not only has he got an afro and mustache and everything, he's also speaking with the slang. So that's a nice little touch that they've added.
Yeah, when he goes, catch you on the flip side, I'm like, yeah, they got it. they got a 70s dude in there. Did we pass? Hang on. So where were we? I'm just going through my notes. I'm getting lost because there's so many things you can digress into with this. It's just unbelievable. Yes. So she's talking to Geraldine, and I think she's trying to hide as best as she can that she's about to give birth, but eventually Vision goes and grab the doctor. Literally runs to the house and grabs him and pulls him back into the house. And Geraldine is helping delivering the first baby, I think. Not the two, right? The first one is delivered by Geraldine, and the second one's delivered by the doctor, by Vision. Damn it.
They're all there by then.
I think they're all there. I don't think you see it. But and they end up naming the kids Tommy and Billy.
Yeah.
Two boys. And I think this is where things then start going a bit. Now, even though I watched it at lunchtime, I cannot remember if the conversation between Wanda and Vision about something being off is before she gives birth or after she's given birth.
It's before. Right? I think it's before she. I think it's before she starts having contractions.
Which is a quite. I think you're right, because she's lying down on a sofa. And they're having a discussion about things. Oh yes, about people noticing that they may, this stuff, strange stuff are happening around them. So, and obviously Wanda is looking for reassurance, and she's like, do you think they're gonna notice? And Vision is like, well, yeah, actually, something's quite strange here. Something's off.
Something's not right. Yeah,
something's not right. And suddenly you can see, because I've rewatched that scene a couple times, and you can see Wanda's reaction, her face and her eyes. Like, you can tell she's like, nah. That's the same reaction she had when the B guy came up. And she went, no, sewers. Rewind it. Then that I think this one is not a rewind, it's just like a cut.
It
cut.
Takes it back.
It's a cut from
and bang, he's bang. Back in the position he was before.
And it's like, and then he goes into this little, oh no, don't worry about it, like the reaction from a sitcom you would expect, like, no, it's all pink, it's all good, it's all gonna happen, don't worry about it, don't think it, don't even think it.
Happy days.
So apologies, we skipped over that, but that's quite an important conversation. So moving forward to Wanda having given birth to those twins, you can see that Vision's walking the doctor out, and they're having this little discussion. The doctor was meant to be off on holiday, going to somewhere in Hawaii or whatever. And Vision goes, oh, now you can go and enjoy your holidays. And the doctor goes, well, it's a small town. I don't think I'll go. It's a small town. I don't think we'll be able to escape. And the way he says that, I was like, damn.
And I think Vision has a slight reaction to it.
Yes.
Like, he's a bit like,
he's taken it back.
Why wouldn't you be able to escape? Yeah. And their car is broken down anyway, which is why he says that.
But the word escape, like, because he poses between you, I don't think you'll be able to escape, and it's like, shit. And at that point, also Vision being outside, he realizes that Herb, the neighbor, is talking with Agnes, the other neighbor, further down the road, and this conversation that he can't quite make up, but if you have the subtitles on, you'll see what they're saying. And they're talking about Geraldine being in the house, and is she in there with Wanda? Is she by herself? And obviously Vision walks over and having a little conversation with them, and then you cut back to inside the house with Wanda and Geraldine having a discussion, and Wanda mentioning that she also has a twin, or had a twin brother. She's a twin named Pietro. and the mood changes dramatically there, where she's starting to speak a lot. No longer she is acting as a sitcom actress,
Yeah.
she's now very serious. So it's more of the Wanda you would know from the Marvel movies. And to which Geraldine mentioned something about Pietro being killed by Ultron.
Yeah.
And both of them, the acting is completely different. Geraldine's now acting like somebody who knows what's going on, or maybe that she's got a flashback of what happened. It's not really sure what's going on at that point.
Yeah.
So Wanda's reaction is obviously being puzzled. She's like, "What did you say? What are you talking about?" And Wanda is starting to ask questions about Geraldine's and why is she here and who she is. And none of those questions are answered by Geraldine. She cannot. She's trying to change the conversation. She's trying to play it cool, but she just can't give an answer.
And it's at that point that Wanda points at the symbol around her neck, on her necklace, and says, "What's that?" and asks her who she is. And I think Geraldine actually says, "I don't know."
Yeah, she says, "I don't know."
That's her response. Yeah.
Which again, it's puzzling because you're wondering like, they raises a lot of questions. She's like, does she know what she's doing here? Is she here by her, like in her own volition? Like, was she put there by somebody else, or is she there because she infiltrated the place? We don't know.
Yeah.
So we then cut back, I think, from the outside, back outside, with the conversation between Vision and the other two neighbors, which was, I think, out of the 3 episodes, my favorite part. Out of those 3 episodes, it is literally my favorite part of conversation, my favorite conversation. And Agnes points out that Geraldine is different from everyone else in the town or simulation or whatever it is.
Yeah.
As she's got no family, no husband, no job. I guess she said job. Well, don't know.
Well, she has a job. She was doing the temp role, and now she's got a job. But she had,
and most importantly, no home.
No home, right? That's really important. No home.
Yeah, no home. Really so important. I was like, interesting. And then her again, they completely break out of character, and I use the word character on purpose here. And they are really trying to tell Vision something, but also, I think Herb is trying to break it to him that it's all BS. But Agnes is like, don't say anything, because Herb is started the best sentence of the entire 3 episodes, which is, she came here, referring to Geraldine. She came here because we all. And then he gets cut off by Agnes, and Vision is trying to understand what's going on. And then Agnes decides, she's got to leave. So she's like, anyway, goes back into the character she's playing.
Yeah.
Gets on her bike, literally, and gets off, walks away in the sunshine. And then Vision goes back inside to a now lonely and alone Wanda, who's staring at her twins, sorry, not two twins. And Vision's asking, obviously, where is Geraldine? And they say she went back home.
Yeah, she left, honey. She went back home.
She went back home. And then the final twist, which is when the screen turns from 4:3 to 16:9, as mentioned in the intro, in full HD, beautiful HD, but completely dark, and you see Geraldine being thrown out of Westview. There's like this weird, almost rundown sign of Westview, town or whatever it says, and then there's a bunch of logos underneath that, but I've not looked into that because I'm sure there's some details in there.
Yeah, I had a look at some of them. I don't recognize them off the top of my head. They look kind of generic. One of them has a hand on it, but I doubt the hand is involved.
It's just weird. I've not really looked into those because it was really, again, when I watched it for the second time, I was like, I need to have a look. Maybe there's something with those symbols. But the funny thing is that Geraldine is thrown out. And 2 things came to mind when I saw that. I was like, okay, the first thing is like visually, it looks like she's being kicked out of a screen, like a TV screen, like you see those pixels and. But it's sort of, I think we talked about it before. It's like, to me, also reminded me of what Wakanda is using as a
As a
like a
shield.
smoke screen, as a shield,
Yeah.
which is like hidden in plain sight. But then again, watching it for a second time, you see there's floodlights all
There's a
around.
gate. There's a fence.
There's a
Yeah.
gate, so I think it's a gated, it's fenced town. I think, and again, we're moving into theories here, but a little early. But I think maybe it is a real town, because that's a discussion also that we had. It might be a real town set in the real world that's been shut down by, not Hydra. I was going to say Hydra, Shield or Sword or whoever is in control. Which I think it sort of confirms it, that shot there at the end, to me, that it's set in reality. And I think you were asking me like, oh, where do you think her body is? I think her body might be there.
Yeah.
Is it in a coma? Is it in a different state? Is she actually alive and moving around? I don't really know.
Yeah, I think she is. I think she is. But that raises the question of vision, right? Because if we're to assume that everyone on the show is real, and I would assume that, I'll give some proof later when we dive a bit deeper into theories, then everyone there is supposedly alive, right? Those are the residents of Westview, normal residents of Westview. Geraldine has somehow gotten in there, and then we see Vision and Wanda drive in there at the start of the first episode. It just begs the question of how is Vision alive? Right?
Yeah.
Because if everyone else is real, he's meant to be dead. He was destroyed.
So again, I was looking at another guy on YouTube that was doing these videos, and his argument was that Wanda is actually, because she has the power from every single stone, right? She can control mind, she could control reality, time. She's rewinded Vision a couple times. She's the most powerful one, basically. And his argument was that actually she's more powerful than the Infinity Gauntlet with all the stones on it. That she could take that on. And this is the reason why in in Endgame, when she comes back and she kicks Thanos' ass, she almost does it effortlessly. And like he obviously he hasn't got the glove, but like she's a lot stronger than anyone else. She's the one that almost gets him, and I think Kevin Feige said in an interview, it's like, well, she would have killed him easily if it wasn't for him killing off, using missiles and killing everyone on the battlefield. I think so. My point is that I think she may well have, I think she did bring Vision back to life. Maybe it's a different version of Vision. Maybe it's not the 100%. Maybe there's something, because the way he's been acting also has been different, because he's all about being all about analytics, right? He knows using his brain to analyze everything, and he's always coming to his answer to everything is what is the logical conclusion of every single situation. So in WandaVision, I don't. So there's been a couple of occasions where his reaction is a bit like meh. So I don't know if I put that down to the fact that they had to write those episodes as comedies, or if it's just it's Vision, but it's a slightly different version of Vision that she's brought back to life. Who maybe is a little bit funnier, maybe more human. I don't know. I think there's something in there, and that would make sense to why he's able to interact with everybody else in town.
He's obviously alive. I'm just curious as to how, whether it would be her that brought him back somehow, or if whoever's in control of this thing is the one that has remade him and put him in there.
Time will tell, Dave. Time will tell. I want to move on to the Easter eggs part. I think I've got a couple, and you've got a couple too. We could spend an entire episode just talking about Easter eggs, because there are always so many
easily.
In there. But I'm gonna talk the two I've got on my list are the ones that I thought were pretty cool. So we're talking about the opening credits and the Brady's Bunch and the style they went with. The opening credits of episode 2 was very much copied on Bewitched, the cartoon. So with that one, they went with the funkier, again, second time I used that word today, funkier opening credits. And they are using hexagons towards the end. which, funny enough, is the same logo used by AIM in
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, AIM is a offshoot of Hydra, and
Mm-hmm.
thank you for pointing that out. That it was founded by Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3, but in the comics, our good old friend Strucker,
Yeah.
who is a Hydra manager. I like to say the manager.
It's
No,
his job.
he's a high up in Hydra.
Yeah.
He's the one who's founded AIM in the comics. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to see that in there. I thought it was
Yeah.
a good
They
one
had
there.
to make that change because Strucker gets shot in Ultron by
Yeah,
Ultron.
by Ultron also. No, by Ultron, or he gets shot? Does he get shot by Iron Man at the start of Age of Ultron?
No, they can't have Iron Man killing people. I
What?
think I'm pretty sure there's like a bullet through his head. I
Oh,
I
maybe.
think it's Ultron that kills him.
I need to go back to Ultron.
Yeah.
And then the second one, which I thought was super cool, as soon as I looked a little bit deeper into it, and we talked about it again in a bit, but the ad that is right in the middle of the episode, the first two ads were really cool. This one was was quite interesting too, and it's for Hydra soaps.
Yeah.
Bars. And it's so it's showing a mum who's got two kids, funny enough, who is asking, and well, the voiceover is saying, would you wish for some time off, some me time, some time away without being away, which again, if you're looking at the context of WandaVision, do you wish to be away without having to go anywhere?
It
It's
mirrors the show, doesn't it?
Yeah. And she's like, okay, well, use our Hydra soap. And I was like, what the hell is that about? Obviously Hydra, we know what it is, but so I had to go back to the good old YouTubes and found out that somebody was pointed out that Agent Coulson, which is everyone's favorite character in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, also is in the series, the Disney Plus series, Agents of Shield. And there's that one bit which lasts 30 seconds in one episode where he goes on and says, oh, that soap contains mind controlling chemicals, and that chemical creates false memories and also alters reality. And I was like, wow. So if you don't know that, it's quite cool. I thought that one, out of everything that happened in the episode, apart from the line of she's here because we all, I don't know, that bit, that ad really blew my mind. I don't know why. I was like,
that's huge. Yeah. That is huge. When I read that, I was like, wow, that is so so like important, so poignant.
Yeah, it's like literally telling you what's happening, or giving you some sort of explanation or context of what's happening. And it's like, all right, well, there's mind control, there's reality being changed and altered in all ways, and it's in your face now. There you go.
Yeah,
they're literally telling you with that ad where it's going. So, and I think one of your theories, but maybe you want to talk about it now, was that the parents, or the adults we're seeing in those adverts, are actually Wanda's parents, or Wanda and Pietro's parents.
Yes, because in Age of Ultron, Pietro mentions, I can't remember who they're talking to. It might even be Strucker, but they're talking to someone, and
they're talking to
it's Ultron. It's Ultron. Yeah, it's Ultron.
Yep.
And they talk about their parents and say that all they have is an image of them, and that image is seared into their memory because it was pretty much the only thing that they had to link them to normality and their home, where they're from. And because at the end of the day, at the time, they're just kids, pretty much. They're teenagers, they're very young people. And yeah, so there is a theory that those two, the actor and the actress who modeled the watch and the toaster, and now the mother is modeling the soap, that might be their parents, and that whoever is in control of this simulation is using that as a way to help them sort of persuade Wanda to do certain things. Because
I think it makes a whole lot of sense if you look at it that way. And also it's controlling her, and it's like you've got these familiar faces that are like set within that new reality that she's in. I think it was quite interesting. It's quite cool to see that, because it's not something I really paid attention in the first 2 episodes. I was like, oh, it's just two actors, maybe some some guys from Sword or somebody from AIM, so whatever. Or maybe actually even Agnes, as in like, because Agnes. Again, the theory is that she's a witch.
Yeah.
Again, not a character I'm really familiar with, but with witches, usually one of the power they have is to change forms, as in like being a shapeshifter sort of character. I was like, maybe that'd be her real form, and the guy is the husband that she's always mentioning. But again, I think to me that's a bit more far-fetched than It's a bit more far-fetched than being Wanda's parents, or somebody using the image of the parents. Or actually, I think it would be Wanda, because like you said, we never see their faces anywhere. Ultron, there's nothing. There's just a photo apparently. But
they talk about the photo. They don't show us the photo, so there's no way for us to know that it's the same like people or same actors or actresses or anything like that.
It's I think it would be cool if it's the parents. Would be cool. I don't think we'll ever get an answer to that one, but
probably not.
Not. What you got in terms of Easter eggs? I think you got a couple also.
Yeah, I've got a couple more. I actually have loads more, but I don't want to bog down the episode with all of it. I noticed the first time I saw it that the jacket that that Wanda's original jacket is turned into, her normal green jacket is turned into a yellow jacket that I thought was reminiscent of Jubilee in the X-Men cartoons. That yellow jacket with the extra layer of flapping at the top and stuff like that. I thought it was very, very similar to that jacket, which would be an X-Men reference. As we know, Wanda was originally an X-Man. And and as you guys have spoken about in a previous episode, there's the possibility that the X-Men are going to be reintroduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in either Phase 4 or maybe in Phase 5, but in the near future. So I thought that was interesting. More importantly, Tommy and Billy, the twins that she gives birth to, in the comics, we know that it's Mephisto that kind of makes her give birth, but he eventually reabsorbs them in the comics in quite a harrowing scene where he has Tommy on one arm and Billy on one arm. They're literally his arms. He reabsorbs them, but they are later resurrected and they become Wiccan and Speed, who I think are they New Avengers or are they X-Men?
I think, hang on, let me look that up. I think by the look of it, I think they might be Young Avengers.
Young Avengers, which is interesting because there's a few other members of that team floating or starting to float around the Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Was Geraldine a Young Avenger, technically?
I think she's a New Avenger, not a Young Avenger.
Yeah, she'll be a New Avenger because she's supposed to have some sort of powers, but
she does. But I think isn't Miss Marvel a Young Avenger?
She is in there's different versions, but I think she is.
Yeah, and America Chavez, who is also being introduced. So there's a possibility that we might see something with them further down the line. There's a bunch of other stuff. Pictures on the wall looking like different places. One of them looks kind of like Strucker's villa.
It's when the color is introduced into the shot, right? There's like this quick pan across, and
there's a pan, and then also there's a pan in Ultron where we see it from the same angle. But then the koi soap, so the washing up liquid that Wanda has on the shelf in the kitchen, is called koi soap, which is a play on words from Joy soap, which was a real type of soap brand used at the time. But koi is also the name of, I think it's Sean Koi Man, who is one of the X-Men, Karma, who's also telepathic, has similar powers to Wanda herself.
I think I had my next point was the theories behind it, but we sort of touched on that. I'm just going to repeat what JC said last week, or the last episode, which was last week, which I think he again was spot on. I think that that Ep.3 sort of confirmed that they're borrowing from two stories, those two arc, which if you've not listened to the previous episode, please do. But I will sum it up quickly. Is one comic or one storyline is the House of M, where Wanda resets reality in order to get regain control of her kids that were taken from her, and by doing that, she erased all of the mutants. Like all of them are gone except for I believe Wolverine, who's the only one sort of remember worlds with mutants, and he's going around and waking them up. So that's again what we said just before about Marvel working in the X-Men into the storyline. I think that's what we're seeing right now, and I think it's inspired from House of M. And I think the second one was the West Coast Avengers arc from the 70s, where Mephisto tricks Wanda into thinking she has to baby in order to drain some of the magic out of her. And then he messes that up, Mephisto, and Wanda she goes berserk. Anyway, so that's I think we're not going to go back into the theory too much into that. I think if you want to listen to JC talking about it in a bit more depth, go back to episode 1 and 2 that we did. But then we'll move on from that and say that let's talk about our takes and think, what we think is happening and where we think it's going to. If you want to start, I don't know. Because I think we're pretty much in agreement that there's obviously it's a alternate reality, something's going on. But what's your take? What do you think is happening here?
Yeah. So I basically had a bunch of questions, and I've watched the episode again, and I've sat down. I even rewatched episode 2 as well, and I just sat down and put some thoughts down on the page, and I am trying to crystallize what I think is actually going on, because there's a bunch of possibilities, but I think this is what I think is happening. So I do think Wanda is in control of her immediate surroundings, right? We've seen her turn back time. We've seen her make things appear, disappear, come and go, but we have also seen her not be in total control at all times throughout the episodes. And I think that plus the radio message that came through in episode 2 leads me to believe that she's in control of her surroundings, but not in control of the simulation.
Yeah.
So you asked earlier if I thought she was speeding up the pregnancy, and I actually think that is whoever's in control of the simulation. And then I think as we've said already, Westview is a real place. I don't think they're actors. Because when Dottie... Go ahead.
This is when I disagree. I think they... okay, maybe they're not actors. I think they all know what's going on, because the way they interact directly with her, it's like, take the scene with Geraldine, for example, when she's like, you see when she's telling the story, she's like full on black actress in those sitcoms in the 70s, like louder and more expressive. And then when she goes into who she is, she's a lot more subtle and, speaking more directly, and there's a lot of seriousness about her. But it's the same with Dottie. Yeah, Dottie's the same. Like, so actually, when she cut herself and she's got blood pouring, like suddenly her reaction is like, and then she goes into, oh well, I'm gonna go and do the dishes, and like, this is weird. She almost broke out of character and then goes back into it. So I think they're not actors, but
I don't think they're acting, but they know something's going on. The same way Vision keeps asking, like, something's not right here, and I think Agnes is really the key to that, because she questions Geraldine's presence. Geraldine questions her own presence in episode 2 when we first see her. She says, I don't think I'm meant to be here. And I think what's happened is she's probably been inserted by Sword I think Sword is trying to get into the simulation. I think the voice that we heard on the radio is a Sword agent trying to get into the simulation. We saw the Sword agent come up through the sewage system. I think they're trying to get in, and somehow Geraldine ended up getting in, but maybe not by means that that she thought would work, or when she got there, her memory is wiped somewhat by whoever's in control of the simulation.
So who to your point, who do you think is then receiving Geraldine when she's kicked out? Do you think they're Sword agent? Do you think they?
I think that's Sword, yes.
Because the way they get to her is like they almost come out gun blazing. They're like almost with, I don't know if they don't know what's, because they don't really know what happened and how did she get kicked out. Maybe that's the reaction. But like when I saw them running and getting, using those massive trucks and helicopters coming at her, I was like, "Oh, is she in trouble again?" Or
it seems heavy-handed, doesn't it? Yeah. And I think part of that is just, natural fear, right? They don't know what's happened to her in there to some extent. I think they must know, because when we first see the Sword logo, it's when the credits pan out of the television and there's someone watching.
Yeah.
Right. So they know that they're in this simulation, I think, to some extent. They don't know who is doing it or how or why. And I think Geraldine coming out, they're just being cautious. Something we didn't touch on was that she has red magic, almost like Wanda's magic on her
when she's kicked out,
when she lands, which just tells us that it was Wanda that kicked her out of the simulation rather than some other entity. So I think she was sent in by Sword, and Sword is trying to get in. The helicopter from episode 2 had the Sword logo on it. That I think that was another sign that they tried to maybe fly over the top of the fencing and everything to get into Westview, but the simulation changed, whoever's in control of the simulation changed that helicopter into a toy, so as not to.
That's possible. Could be a drone. Could have been a drone.
What I do think is interesting is it's almost like Agnes is in on it, because she guides Wanda in a lot of places in the first 2 episodes, and then she obviously stops the neighbor from giving any more details to Vision. So she seems to have a closer relationship with what's going on.
I think Agnes is, which is what I believe is giving a lot of weight to my theory that Mephisto is in there. Is that she obviously mentions her husband a lot once per episode. He looks better in the dark. Or there's the sentence from, I think it's Geraldine or one of the other guests, when episode 2 happens and she's preparing for the children charity thing, and somebody says, "Oh, the devil is in the details." It's like, yes, there's those sentences like that don't quite fit in.
It's Agnes that says that again.
It's Agnes who said that, actually. Yes, you're right. So even more so. So the fact that she in the comics is a witch, and she's got I think she's not related. She's linked to Mephisto. Are they married in the comics? I can't quite remember.
I'm not sure.
If they are. They just work together or something like that. So I think she's in there also, and she's making sure that things are happening in order for Wanda to have the babies. She's always episode 1. She's like, "Oh, do you know how to seduce your husband?" As in, 50s seduce is not about, it's about having stuff with your partner. And then episode 2 is for the children, and she's mentioning about, you need to be introduced to Dottie, and once you're in her good books, you'll be in with school, and all that kind of stuff.
And she looks at her belly,
and she looks at her belly. Which I think is like I think she touches the belly, and I was like, she maybe, well, you do see Vision and Wanda getting closer in bed in episode 2, when the bed becomes one. So I was in 2 minds if it's actually Vision's babies or if it's actually Agnes as a witch touching the belly, making her pregnant, inserting.
I think
there's
that
ways
she's
to
involved in that sense, and I think she also knows that they can't lose Vision, right?
Yes,
because Vision, being as smart and as powerful as he is, if he figures out
it's
and
over.
gets through to Wanda, then the simulation is essentially over, because whoever is in control, I'm sure, doesn't actually have the power to stop Wanda from doing certain things. So yeah, that's where I'm at with my theories.
I believe we were very close to that. I think we might differ on who is in control, really, but I think we'll get some answers within the next couple of episodes. My take is that Wanda controls Vision because she brought him back to life. So she can control him, but to a certain extent, like we were saying before, is that she brought a different version back of Vision. That she can, you've seen it in the movie. She can control Vision's stone, so she could control him now in different ways. And I think eventually, Vision being Vision, he will get these flashes of snapping back into reality and using his common sense and intelligence to get from A to B and say, okay, this doesn't make any sense. And in some ways, I'm sure he will remember at some point that he's actually dead or that he died very recently. So, but yeah, again, you're right. Agnes is keeping Vision in checks and making sure that he's not saying anything. And that's what it's also surprised me when she let Herb goes into saying those sentences, saying those things he was saying, like let him go as far as saying, because we all dead, because we all in on it, because we all,
Exactly. But I think because they're real people, I think that's why that happened, right? It's when people break out of character and they want to say what's really going on.
And maybe Herb is just an agent or something, and he's getting freaked out, basically, because that's things that are like out of his, all over his head. And he's like, well, it's not what I'm usually used to dealing with,
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're just neighbors. I think he's just a regular person, and then I think it's Agnes that is the only person that knows what's really going on, and then and then Geraldine is the only agent that's gotten in there, that's been in there. What was I gonna say as well? There's some stuff in the trailer that also sort of insinuates certain things, but I'd rather not talk about it.
All right, cool. I think we've covered everything, right? I think we managed to overrun this. I wanted to do this in about half an hour, 45 minutes, but hey, it's been an hour. But that's how we roll here. So yeah, as I mentioned before, if you've not watched WandaVision, please do yourself a favor and get back into the mix, into the groove. Get yourself a Disney Plus subscription if you don't have one already. And I think the only bad thing I have to say about WandaVision is that they're releasing one episode a week, and that's torture. Really pissing me off at the moment. Because I'm like, come on, when you get so close from getting any sort of answer, and you have to wait for a week, which is, in a way, if you think about it, it's a throwback to old TV.
There you go.
Before, you had to wait for that episode to drop every single week.
There you go. See, and maybe once we get to the 2020s, we're just going to be able to binge the last 4 episodes.
Maybe actually, let's see if that's something that happens. Suddenly we get 2020, it's like bang, the last 3 are here. And
they make the WandaVision logo like the Netflix logo.
Oh God, imagine that. Oh no, that'd be weird.
Cinema.
All right then. All right, so thanks everyone for listening. This was Catching Up with the Nerds. Thanks, Dave, for joining us. This was your first apparition, your first guest role into our podcast. So I'm sure we'll have you on more. Maybe we'll do episode 4 together, and let's see. Maybe JC will be back with us on that one, and then maybe we can the three of us have a go.
Some
Maybe
ideas
it's just be
around.
the two of us again. So yes, thanks for listening, and as usual, if you could like, share, and subscribe, that'll be much appreciated. We're everywhere on social media, like everyone else. So that's it from me, Tom, and Dave. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the
Bye-bye.
next one. Thank you.
Take care.